let's see. I think you're a little to the left of the camera now.
Let me. Don't ask me why OBS does this.
There we go. Great. Greetings, chess players, and welcome back to the free winter break chess camp. It is my great honor and pleasure to watch a wonderful lesson with Tatev Abrahamyan with you. And as you know, she is a woman grandmaster who now lives in California. But she actually, for a lot of her formative chess years, lived in Armenia. And so can you tell us a little bit about your childhood, Tatev?
Thanks for the intro. Hi everyone. My name is Tatev Abrahamyan. So as Chris mentioned, yes, I was born and I grew up in Armenia, and that definitely shaped me as a chess player and played a big role in me taking chess seriously. Because chess in Armenia, those of you who maybe come from Armenia, or at least your parents do, chess in Armenia is a very big thing. Something that now everyone plays because now we have chess in schools in Armenia, so it's a mandatory subject. Just like your math, your English class, 2 years of chess that everyone has to take. I was very lucky growing up because when I was 8 and I was just starting to play chess, the chess Olympiads was taking place in Yerevan, Armenia. And those of you who maybe followed, follow like top level chess, or you follow chess events, maybe you've heard of the Chess Olympiad. It's one of the very few chess team tournaments that we have, and it's one that is such a big celebration of chess because every country plays there, every country is represented, and they have a women's team and a men's team, so it's a pretty even number of boys and girls, and it doesn't matter if you're a top country competing for a top place, or you're coming from a country where chess is not as developed. Like, everyone is represented. So it was taking place in Yerevan as I was growing up. So my dad was taking me there every day to watch the games, and it was very inspiring for me. And my training regimen was pretty intense. I think one of the differences that I do see between here and Armenia is in Armenia we go to chess school, we go training for chess to become chess players, not just to play chess for fun. So I had a very intense regimen. I had lessons like 3 times a week for 3 hours with my coach, and on top of my school and everything. And also, our tournaments were one round a day, so it's not like here that you play a tournament over the weekend or over one day. So chess in Armenia is just a very serious activity, and that really helped me become a serious chess player, professional chess player. Mm-hmm. I think I took third place. Yeah, I never won that. I think I took third in under 12, so I think I was 11 years old when I was 13. Oh yeah, it was a very challenging time in my life. I mean, now I do feel grateful that it happened, but at the time I just didn't want to leave. I didn't want my parents taking me from my home, so it was very difficult. I didn't speak English. I had to go to a new school, and it was a very difficult period for me. So like those few years, I kind of tuned them out of my memory, but obviously there's a reason why my parents felt we needed to leave, and things have worked out pretty well for me since then.
Awesome. And why don't you talk to the students real fast about the Women's Chess Championship? You've played in a lot of U.S. Women's Chess Championships.
Yeah, so the U.S. Women's Chess Championship is a tournament that takes place every year. It's our country's the championship is our country's major tournament. where all the top players play. So again, those of you, maybe some of you follow it, and you see that Fabiano plays, and Hikaru plays, and Wesley plays. In some countries, when they have their national championship, they don't get their top players, but we do. It's a very high-level, prestigious tournament. So we have it, the open section, and we have it for women. So it attracts all the top players in the country and all the top women in the country. It takes place. It's been taking place in St. Louis for the past 10 years. So again, some of you might be familiar with the St. Louis Chess Club. It's a really beautiful chess club in the city of St. Louis. St. Louis is not the capital, the chess capital of the U.S. It actually has been approved by the Senate, so it's official. So it's a very fun event. Unfortunately, this year it had to take place online because of COVID. So that was an experience to play in a major chess tournament online. But I do have hopes it will come back in person next year. I have had some hit or misses in that tournament. I've come very close to winning many times, but there's always been something that wasn't quite there, and this year was just, I feel like it was just completely off for me. But it's gotten very strong over the years. We have a lot of up-and-coming players who are getting stronger and stronger, like Carissa and Jennifer and Annie Wang, who's from Southern California. So now it has become a mixture of experience and very young players, so it has become a very fun tournament to play in.
Excellent. So what do you have for us today as far as a lesson?
Well, I wanted to start out with a position to solve, and then I wanted to go over one of my games actually from last year's US Championship. It's one of the more fun games I've played. It was against Carissa Yip, but I wanted to start out with this position and have everyone solve it, or whoever can solve it. It's actually from quite a this example is quite famous by now, I think. It's fairly recent, so not like Paul Morphy kind of famous, but top level kind of famous. So can everyone see my board?
Yeah, we can see your chessboard good.
Okay, so this is a game between Vishy Anand and Alexander Grischuk. I hope everyone is familiar with these names. Vishy Anand is a many-time world champion, a legendary chess player, and Alexander Grischuk is one of the top players in the world, and a very entertaining and very popular player. He gives very fun interviews, and he's definitely a crowd favorite. So this is a game from 2018 Tal Memorial. So Tal is another name I hope you guys are familiar with. He's a former world champion. So there's a tournament in his memorial. It's Tal Rapid and Blitz. So this is in the Rapid portion that Vishenat actually ended up winning. So in this position, it's white to move.
And what I'm seeing in our chat is there seems to be a split between some of the students think rook takes f7 and some of them think knight g5.
Yeah, but when I give an example, in my classes, when I give an example and I'm asking for a solution, I don't accept one move answers. So if you're giving me a solution, you have to give me a line. Because if you tell me rook f7 or you give me knight g5, like, I don't know what's the follow-up.
Okay, so Ishan says rook takes f7 check, queen takes f7, knight g5, hx g5, hx g5. And then Crick Games says knight takes g5, hx g5. That went too fast. So many are typing. It went a little too fast. Let me go back to. All right, so we've got rook takes f7 check, queen takes f7, knight g5, hx g5, hx g5, and wherever the king moves, queen h6 is mate.
That is not correct.
That is not correct. Okay. Let's see who else. Knight g5, hx g5, king g7, and queen h6 from Crick Games.
So what is it? Knight g. Can you repeat it?
Yes, knight g5, hx g5, king g7, queen h6, mate.
So wait, so the answer is knight here takes.
Let me get back to the... Megan, can you put me back on the OBS screen, please?
This is not mate.
Okay. And let's see. Anyone else?
So you guys have the right idea. You just need to get your move order right. So the move order in chess is one of the most important things in your calculation. Because when you're calculating, you know, like the move order is in a way that your opponent has an extra defensive option, or maybe they have a intermediate move or something, then your line is not going to work out. So the line with rook f7 was correct. I mean, not correct. The idea with rook f7 was correct. You just have to execute it accurately.
Okay, so Star Games is saying rook takes f7, queen takes f7, queen f5, check. And that is not correct. Nice try, Star Games. Knight g5, hx g5, rook takes f7, queen takes f7, hx g5, king g7, and then queen h6, Kibish says.
Yeah, so that is actually correct. So why do we need to start with knight g5 as opposed to rook f7? So I will show you what happened in the game, and then we'll come back and compare it. So it does start with knight g5, and knight g5 is a tempo move. It's a fork, so black has to react to it. So black has to capture this knight, otherwise they're going to lose a queen. So if they take with the rook, then we will change, and we're still attacking because this king is quite vulnerable. So next move I will play rook h1, and then take on h6. In the game, h takes g5 was played, and some of you guys spotted this idea, but again, your move order was not correct. So, actually I went too fast. So rook f7. So now I'm also attacking the queen. So at any point, if you realize maybe you're in trouble, you don't really have time. You have a chance to move your king, because I will just simply take your queen again. So you do have to take. Oh my god. Forgot chess.com does this. And no matter where the king goes, you have checkmate. So very nice. And let's go back to our position, and who can tell me why starting like this is not good? Like, what is the difference between starting with knight g5 and starting with rook f7? Because one of them works, the other one doesn't. So what is the difference?
What's the difference between starting with knight g5 and rook takes f7? Who can put it in?
Yeah, so we just looked at them, we just compared the two. So who can verbalize it, or give me a line maybe, and tell me what is wrong with it?
And I'm waiting for someone to type in their explanation.
So I can show you. Yeah. I can show one more time what happened. So h takes g5. Sorry, this is not. Let me promote this variation. Okay, so we went here. Black takes. So this is what happened in the game. And you got made it. So now my question is, what is the difference between doing that and doing this? Why doesn't this work out? Who can figure it out? And this is a very important tool when calculating, because when you're calculating, so it's important to calculate. So calculating is a difficult thing, right? Calculating a good line and playing it and all of that is difficult. So it's one thing to calculate a line. So it's important to calculate a line correctly, that you're, you're not blundering, that your moves are accurate. But the more important thing to do at the end of calculation is evaluate the position.
Roger says.
Because you don't want to.
Yeah. Roger says the difference is you don't give up the rook.
So what is black going to do here?
So what is black going to do, Roger? Finish your thought. You lose the rook. You lose the rook and knight for a check, but not checkmate.
I don't know what that means. So if you take, it's the same exact position. Nothing's different. It's the same exact position. Is there anything black can do differently? Is there a difference between the two lines? Yes, it does. So like I was saying, when you're calculating, at the end of the line, you want to evaluate because you don't want to end up worse off than you started. So you don't want to calculate the really complicated, like a 10-move line, and you're really proud of yourself, and then you play it, and then you reach the position, and you're like, oh, my position is actually really bad right now. Maybe I shouldn't have done this. So what we want to do is we want to calculate the moves. So here, another thing you want to do when you're calculating, you want to force yourself to look at tempo moves. And you want to force yourself to look at options. Because sometimes you don't see an idea, you don't see a move naturally. Sometimes you have to make yourself see it. So h takes g5, you get mated. So what is the other option? There's only another move here for black that makes sense. Right, so rook takes g5, h takes g5. So again, I'm threatening to take. And now you can do something like, I don't know, like h5. And what is the difference between this position? So remember this position and this one. So let's remember this position. And now let's go back to this one. What is the difference?
Black's queen is defending h5.
Okay, what else? So these are the two positions we're comparing. Let me minimize this. This and this. The first thing you need to look at is the material. Anyone? Okay, so I said first thing we need to look at is the material, and no one is looking at the material yet. So count the material in this position, compare it to this position. Right, so white is a knight down, because in this line, when you started with knight g5, and as a black player, when you look at this position, and you're like, okay, if I take with the pawn, I'm getting mated. So my only other option is to take with the rook and end up down on exchange. But if you start with white by giving up your rook, your opponent has already an extra rook. So in this position as white, you're down a rook. And when you're down a rook, you don't mind giving it back for something just to not to get mated. So here you're trading your extra rook with a knight. And in this position, had you got knight g5 in the beginning, you get to keep your rook. And this is the difference. And this is something to keep in mind when we are sacrificing and attacking, because sometimes we sacrifice and we attack and then we end up without any pieces because we get kind of carried away. So it's very important to keep track of the material as we go, because again, when you're sometimes you can give too much, and as when you're on the defensive side, if your opponent like sacrifices a lot, when you're up a lot of material, you can get some of it back just to defend yourself, right? If you're up a rook and a knight, you don't mind giving up a rook just not to get mated because you still have an extra knight. All right, so this is one of my favorite examples. I've shown this in a lot of my classes. I really enjoyed this one, and I think it's just such a stunning way to checkmate. But let's move on to what I wanted to show you. Well, let's see if this is going to work. So you only see my board, right? You don't see what's on the right.
Yeah, we only see your board, so we can guess the move without seeing the answer.
All right. Okay, so this is my game against Carissa Yip from last year's US Championship. So this game was round 3. And yeah, I believe it was round 3. So last year's US Championship started kind of rough for me. I lost the first round with the white pieces. And it was particularly upsetting for me because I had very good preparation against my opponent. My coach did a very good job preparing against me. My opponent was quite, her name is Maggie Fang. She is quite predictable player. She plays the same things over and over, so it was very easy to target her with preparation. So I had this whole preparation. I was like at a basically winning position out of the opening, and then I ended up kind of got carried away. I couldn't find a win, and then I one mistake, 2 mistakes. I let the advantage slip out of my hands, but then I didn't realize it because I felt like I need to win this game because I came with this good preparation. Anyways, I ended up losing, and it was really upsetting to me. And I've had the white pieces too, and like I should have just won this game easily on paper, but it just didn't work. And the second game I drew, so I started very slow. I started half out of 2. And I was trying not to get frustrated, and my coach was just telling me it's okay, nothing bad has happened, just one round at a time. And the third round game, I was paired against Carissa Yip. I got the black pieces. So actually this game is annotated by me. And like my annotation said, this is my 3rd time playing black against her. So she played knight d2 twice against me, and both of those games ended in a draw, but this time she decided to surprise me. Also, I can turn up the sound of the pieces if it's annoying. Yeah, so she went f4, which is a very, like a big sideline. No one really plays it. Hikaru has played it a few times, but as a French player, it's not something you worry about. Of course, d4 is more of a logical move, grabbing the center and everything. But I think she just wanted to surprise me. I think she didn't want to enter any theoretical battles with me. She didn't want to, see whose preparation is better. So she just wanted something offbeat. C5. And knight h6. So this might seem like a strange move for some of you because you're taught not to put your knight on the edge of the board. But the knight is headed somewhere. So knight is not going to stay on the edge of the board forever. So the knight is headed to actually a central square. So knight a3. With the same idea for her, she wants to go to knight c2. So in the French defense, I don't know if anyone's familiar with this, with the French. There's a big battle for this d4 square because white is going or wants to play d4. And then black starts to piling on this d4 square, and white has to defend this pawn. So in this position, I decided to play d4 myself. And I said a committal move. So I'll just read what my notes say from 2 years, well, a year and a half ago. I said it's a committal move that I played without knowing what to do after. I want to say this is what... Oh yeah, so then I said I think I recommended this in my chess.com videos, and I was wondering if this is why she played it, that she said like this is something I recommended, so maybe I will play it, and then she decided to go for it. So she went bishop d3. This is a bit of an unnecessary move. I'm stopping g4, but she's not really playing g4. This is a pretty typical idea in the French, but I need to worry about my center and development. So she goes after my d4 pawn. I defend it. So in the game, she played b3. So this is a possibility for her to take this pawn. just win a pawn. But then I thought I have enough compensation because I'm just going to wonder where this king is going, because this king is just never getting castled. Like something like this looks, okay, this is obviously analysis, but this just looks crazy. And now I'm just winning her queen. Because if she goes on this diagonal, I'm going to pin her. Oops. And if she goes here, I'm going to mate her. Not mate her. I'm going to get her queen again. So she decided not to take the pawn. She went b3. With the idea of going bishop b2. So she just really wants to take my pawn, or at least force me to take on c3. So I played rook d8. And here she played bishop b2. Okay, so what I played in the game is difficult to find. I remember like I went back and watched the commentary because the commentators were also wondering if I was going to find it. I'm kind of bragging here a little bit, but this is a very difficult idea, and I was quite pleased when I found this, and this is how I got my confidence back in a tournament after having hop out of 2, because I felt like, oh, I can play chess again. So black to move, so I'm wondering what you guys will come up with here. So tell me some thoughts that come to your mind. So my pawn now is starting to hang, right? Now she's really piling up on it.
Okay.
So what do you guys think?
So what do you guys think? Black to move. Go ahead and type in your answers.
Don't look up my game.
Still waiting.
Yeah, this is a difficult position because we are on move 13 and we haven't exchanged anything. But now the position is just going to blow up completely. Like 4 moves later, you're going to see a completely different position. So this is a difficult hint, but I'm actually going to trap the white queen. So I want to see what comes to your mind. So even if you think you would castle here, you can say that because it's interesting how you guys think about this position.
Yeah, so we've got a couple people saying castle. We've got a lot of people saying c4. And we've got a couple people saying bishop c8. And
okay, so you want to defend your pawn. Some people want to give up the pawn. Some people want to defend it. Some people want to put their king away. Okay, it's fair. Fair assessments.
knight b4 is what Ferris says. Knight d3, which is, I mean, we would like to put a knight on d3, but we can't do it. Bishop h4 check. G3. Somebody's typing a whole line. They listened earlier. Bishop h4 check. G3. Knight takes g3. Hx g2.
Okay, so they wanna. So this is like one of. So this position does get crazy, but usually like this happens in all my classes when I give a position to my student and they just like immediately start giving away everything. They're like, okay, I have to sacrifice everything. All right, so I did end up playing c4 here. So of course you cannot take it. I'll just take the bishop, right? We see this. So she takes with the queen. So let's see in this position if anyone can find a way that I can try, or I can trap this queen. Because this queen, actually, there's a way to trap her.
And now they're saying knight takes e5, fx e5, bishop b5. Knight b4, cx b4, bishop b5, queen is trapped.
Bishop b4, you mean b5?
Knight takes, knight b4 captures b4, and then bishop to b5.
Oh, I see, knight b4, okay.
Knight a5, bishop b5 traps the queen.
Yeah, so you guys see it. So you see that if the bishop magically appears on b5, then the queen is trapped. So if the bishop is here, so you can jump over your knight, this queen is trapped. So we have to get rid of the knight. So you're very good. You're very right. You do want to get rid of this knight in a way that kind of forces white to take it, right? And because if you go something like knight, like if you go knight b8 and you're threatening bishop b5, like obviously she's not gonna fall for it, right? She'll move her queen or something, or take on d4 or something. If you go knight a5, you're actually forcing my queen away from the square where you're going to be trapping her. So now my queen again is going to move away. So again, you're not trapping her. So in the game, I did play knight e5. So it's possible for her to move away. But I think here I'm just kind of destroying her with my two bishops, because if you look at the bishop aiming here, the bishop aiming here, if I could draw an arrow. And this king in the center is not a happy king, because this queen again is getting trapped, so this is only move. So we take, and then we take, so we just start taking everything. And again, king in the center against the bishop b5. King is not going to get castled, so this is going to be a big problem for her. And two bishops in an open position, that's just very, very unpleasant. So she decides to take. So if it goes, she took. So she took here too. And of course, I would love to take back, but this would be very unfortunate. So I took here. She takes back. She's trapping my queen. So I have to move her. So I went queen d3, queen d3, queen c6, attacking this pawn, forcing and attacking the bishop. So forcing her bishop to h3. So now we reach this position. And this is a very interesting position because chess imbalances are very interesting. Like, what are imbalances? Like queen versus two rooks, queen versus three pieces, rook versus two minor pieces. Those are imbalances, right? Because like the point-wise, they're almost the same or very close, but it really depends on the position, and it really depends on how the pieces are. So she has. So what is if we count the pawns? I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So pawns are equal. I have a bishop for a bishop, so I have a queen for a bishop and two knights. So I have a queen for three pieces. So this is a very unique and a very interesting imbalance in chess. So let's try to evaluate the position, and let's try to figure out whose position is better. So you might be inclined to say my position because I'm showing this game. Probably wouldn't show a game that wasn't good for me. But let's try to be objective and like really try to understand it, because it's one thing for me to show this to you or to analyze it with an engine, but during the game, you have to make the assessment yourself. And this is one of the points I was making earlier, right? When you're calculating, you want to make sure you end up in a better position than you started, or in the same position. So you don't want to like find this amazing line where you win a queen and then you're like, oh wait, I shouldn't have done this because now my opponent has three pieces and these three pieces are just going to crash me. So let's try to understand what's going on in the position. So whose position is better and why? And there's one main thing you have to know about queen versus anything imbalances. So let's see if anyone can tell me what it is, or can tell me what they think about this position.
So whose position is better here, and describe why? Why?
Yeah, like why do you, like which side would you rather be on, and why? So do you think the queen is better than three minors? The three minors are better than the queen? Like, what is your preference? Maybe maybe you don't like what I did. Maybe you think white is just gonna win with the three pieces. I mean, there is a lot of them, right? There's three of them.
Unicorn likes black because white's knight and bishop are not active. Jacob says white has a very weak king. Caitlin Wong says, I think black is better because white's king is not safe and all the minor pieces are on the queen side. Ian says black's position is better because the white king is open as well as black's pieces are blocked. Daniel says black has dark square control, no scope for the white bishop. XP Master says, I like to see your position is better because the white square bishop is bad and you can force the knight on c4 to the wall.
Yeah, so you guys, I think, really grasping the position, so really nice. So when we're talking about any kind of imbalance of queen versus like x to rook, 3 pieces, so the main thing we want to look at is the king. If you have a weak king and there's a queen on the board, that's probably not going to work out really well for you because a queen is a great attacking piece. So even if you're materially you're doing well, like let's say you have 2 rooks and maybe you have a pass pawn or something, if your queen is weak, the queen can just give you a perpetual at some point. Because I'm sure you have been on both sides of this, attacking a weak king with a queen or being attacked with a queen when your king is weak, and you know just how powerful of a piece it is. And generally 3 pieces or 2 rooks are supposed to be better than a queen, right? Because there's few of them and you have 1 queen. So if 2 pieces attack one of your pawns or something, a queen alone cannot defend it. If 2 rooks attack a pawn, queen alone cannot defend a pawn. So there's few of them working together. So 3 pieces generally should be better. But again, it's an imbalance, so there are other things to take into account. So the first one is the safety of the king, and the second one, if the pieces have good outputs. So let's say if this knight, let's say my pawn was on here, my pawn was on c7, the knight on c4 would be an amazing piece, right? Because no one could bother that knight. Like no one can ever kick that knight away, so the knight has an output. But the problem for white is the pieces are going to start getting kicked around. So you guys are right. The bishop on h2 is just kind of useless, which is why I had to play queen c6. So the bishop doesn't go to e4 and f3. So for example, if I played here, this would be great for the bishop. And now the second thing is to start kicking around these pieces. So I went b5. So the knight doesn't really have a lot of options. So king doesn't have a lot of options. It's a double attack. I would take. And now b4. So I am giving up this c4 square for her knight. But what I'm doing is I am also making a weakness. And what I didn't want to happen is I don't want to give her enough time to really regroup and take out her knights and get her king to safety. So I'm just kind of, when you have initiative, you have to play with some energy, not to let your opponent escape. Because things like initiative or like being ahead in development, those are not something that's going to be in a position forever. Because if we look here, like I am ahead because I can castle to safety, right? And my king, I can put my king to safety, but it's going to take her a while. But if I don't do anything with it and her king gets to safety, then where is my great advantage? So this is like things like being ahead in advantage is something that can be very temporary. Being up material, it's something that can just be forever, right? If you win a piece, you can just be up a piece the whole game. It doesn't really matter if your opponent castles or doesn't castle, you have an extra piece. So I took c4 and I went bishop f6. So I think bishop f6 is a very good move because now I'm going after her only good piece. Because the bishop here is on the longest diagonal and bishops love being fianchettoed, especially in an open position because that's where they attack the most squares, right? On the longest diagonal, and it's also aiming at the king. And the thing is, once these bishops are gone, her king is just not going to find safety because here you're not going to be safe because then you don't. Then I can just check you on the long diagonal. So here, then I decided to go after this pawn because Pinch cannot take it. She doesn't want to do this because this is going to happen. And another thing to keep in mind after bishop f6, as you mentioned, this bishop here, I also have an idea of just going g5, g4 and trapping it. And once I trap your bishop, I'll just be up material. So you just won't have enough pieces. And she took, and I'm wondering what you guys would play here. So this is another move that I'm quite proud of.
Okay, so black to move. Who can guess the right move?
Or just can tell me what you would play here.
Still waiting for some people to put in answers. Musique says bishop c3.
Okay.
And now a lot of people are agreeing with Musique. Lohith says rook g8.
Yeah, I think rook g8 is, I would expect more people to say that because it's the most logical move.
Mr. Smiley says queen a5.
Queen where?
to a5, a magical queen move doesn't quite work. Maybe he meant something else. Maybe he meant d5. No, that. Let's see. Bishop c3, bx c3, bx c3. Yeah, we see that. Bishop c3, bishop. Bishop c3, bishop takes h8, bishop takes a1. Or, let's see.
So I did play this move, and actually my notes say I stumbled into this move on accident, but it's very pretty. Yeah, so this is, again, like chasing after this dark squared bishop. So someone offered bishop h8. So after bishop h8, I'm not going to take this rook because this rook is absolutely useless. This rook is not going anywhere. This rook is mine. So I don't need to be in a rush to take it. In fact, if I do take it, she's going to take with the bishop, and now she has 4 pieces for a queen. And this is just way too much because now I'm just left with the said rook on d8, and the rook on d8 is just not going to do anything. And now her king is actually safe. She has way too many pieces. The bishop on h2 is just never going to get trapped. And this is just way too much. What I would have done is I would have taken on h8, and this rook is mine, and now I'm simply just threatening to come and checkmate you. And also you're having some back rank issues, because if you can imagine, my queen lands on d1 somehow. This is just checkmate, right? Because you cannot escape to b2, because this whole diagonal is taken. So she decides not to go for this. She probably got scared of my bishop. I mean, I would too. So she took, and she played a3 with the idea of to escape. Again, if she manages to get out, she will be fine. So I went queen f2. I'm stopping this move. And she went rook a2. So she could have also played king a2, but the problem with king a2 is now you're kind of just stuck in this pin because you don't really have a way of getting out. And I would play something like rook d3, just so you don't connect your knights, and then I would bring my other rook to c8, and slowly try to win some material back with something like rook d2. And again, the problem for white this whole game has been that white hasn't been able to really connect the pieces and make them coordinate because they're kind of scattered, right? Like this bishop is still not part of the game. So even though she's up material, she's not using all her pieces. Like I'm playing with all my pieces. I am playing with my queen. My rooks are now coming into the game after I castled. Obviously, I castling, like it's not like I castled into safety, but like who is going to attack me? It's not this, guys. So it's fine, and I'm just bringing pieces into the game, and white is just not able to do this. So she played rook a2. So I came back to get out of the discovery, run away. I played here. Now queen f6. we talked about this diagonal before, right? As I mentioned, like once the bishops are gone, the king is not getting into safety because the diagonal is just weak. So she went here, I went rook c8, and the reason I went rook c8 is because now this knight is trapped, and knights are generally pretty awkward pieces, especially when you put them on the edge of the board. They just, they can, they don't have a large scope like the bishops, right? For example, this bishop from here can still be attacking, but the knight here is just staring the squares next to it. So she went g4. So I'm curious what you guys would do here. Let's take a few minutes, find a continuation. We are nearing the end of the game.
Okay, so what do you think is Black's best continuation here? Go ahead and type it in, and I'll read out your screen name with your idea.
There are probably several good moves here, but I played a move when my opponent resigned. And any move that makes your opponent resign is a very good move.
A4 pawn sacrifice might open up the king. And a lot of people agree with that. Maria Blum says rook c6.
Yeah, rook c6 I think is very logical to try to actually... I mean, it's one thing to trap a piece, but you kind of want to get it, right? You don't want it to just be trapped forever. Eventually you want to get it.
So queen f2 is what Ian suggests. Ian's been very vocal in the chat. Nitin says rook takes c4, bx c4, rook b8.
Would not suggest that. Not recommended.
Zidane says rook c6.
So far the game has not, the move has not been recommended.
Eleni says queen h4.
Okay.
Electric Wolf says queen f2 check. Edwin Moss says rook takes c4 and then queen f2 check.
So I just give you guys position, and then like this is what I mean. When I give a position, like immediately everyone just starts giving everything away. So I'm telling you, one move and she resigned. Because my threats are just too much.
Neil K says e5.
No, not quite.
We've never had this much interaction. Chat.
So, it's good to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this game. I think it's quite entertaining. What else? What else do we think?
Kibish says rook f d8.
Okay. What do you guys think about that move? I haven't heard this one before.
Now, a lot of people are agreeing with rook f to d8. Michael agrees with it. Sammy agrees with it. Samar. Samar's saying queen f2 now. And Yating still thinks a4. Unicorn thinks... Don't know what happened to Unicorns. Thought it went so fast. Boy, we have a lot of interaction. This has been a fantastic lesson so far because not only are the positions superb, but you keep dropping these knowledge bombs and these golden nuggets of wisdom. So this is definitely worth rewatching a couple times. And after the lesson, we'll post the game and the starting position on my blog, so you can look at those again as well. maybe have two windows open.
Yeah, I mean, I do like this rook f8 move, and I did play it, and my opponent did resign. So why rook f8? So maybe the first person who suggested it can tell me why rook f8. What is so great about this move?
Rook d8, rook f d8. Oh yeah, he's just repeating the same thing over and over. Yes, she agrees. That's.
I do that a lot.
So I'm asking, like, why this move? Why is this a good move?
Why
did White resign here?
Why is rook fd8? Who can express that in words for us?
Oh, so you want to take on c4 and go rook d2? Okay. I mean, that looks winning to me, yes. But what is it about this rook f8 move that is just so crushing?
A lot of people want to put the rook to the 7th rank. It's threatening rook d2. A lot of people are mentioning that. And now Creek Games says it's threatening rook d3. No.
Yeah, so it is threatening rook d3. So you do have a lot of threats. So you're actually threatening both rook d3 and rook d2. So for example, if white makes a move, so you go rook d3 and you just win a free rook. And you can also go rook d2, and if your opponent takes, you now have mate. This is just checkmate. And if not, then I can take on a2 and I can take on c3. Well, I'll let that pass. But yeah, rook d3 is also winning, and rook d3 also attacks the rook, the bishop. But again, like, why is rook f8 such a strong move? Because remember what we talked about from the beginning when this whole thing happened, right? Queen versus 3 pieces. So the problem for white always was the lack of piece coordination. Because again, if you look at this position, if you look at white's pieces, it just kind of like you told someone put the pieces somewhere and just like scattered it around the board. Like, why is the rook on a2? Why is the knight on a6? Why is the bishop on h2? So there's just no coordination. So they're just kind of scattered. There's no piece is defending the other. Like, this is not defending because it's pinned. This guy is random. Like, it's just very uncoordinated. So rook f8 just simply brings the last piece into the game for black. And this has been black's advantage throughout, right? Because black didn't have as many pieces because white has 3 pieces for a queen, but black's pieces always worked really well together. So we did exchange the bishops, like I mentioned when I went bishop g7. Like in my notes, it also says, if I can find it, bishop f6. So I'm trading her only good piece, and I mentioned, like, once this bishop is gone, this king is never getting to safety because the diagonal is just weak. And now when we're here, when I played, when we got to this position, you do see the diagonal is just weak because now she's just pinned forever. And now she just doesn't have a way of getting out of this mess because like rook d3 is a threat and all my pieces are playing, even though there's 3 of them versus 5 of hers. But again, like the lack of coordination and this king just never became a safe piece, and this is why the queen in this game dominated versus the 3 pieces. So here she just resigned because nothing has too many threats and just no defense.
Yeah,
she cannot even move most of your pieces. Like, she cannot move the knight on a6. She cannot move this rook. She cannot move this knight because of the pin. So you have a lot of pieces, but you just simply cannot. You don't have like legal moves with them. They don't lose immediately. So this was actually beginning of a winning streak for me. I won 4 games in a row, and this was the first one. So I ended up in the first half of the tournament. I started half out of 2, but I ended up with 4.5 out of 6. So this was a great confidence boost for me, and definitely a game I'm very, very proud of.
This was a super lesson, Tatev. I really enjoyed this. I think what we're gonna do, because it used up a lot of time and it needed to, is wonderful. Is that what we'll do is we'll post a because Tatev's coming back next week too. So we'll post a form up on the blog, and if you have a question about this game or for Tatev in general, any question that you would like to ask, you can submit that question, and then next week when we have Tatev back, I will lead in with your questions. I think that would be fun. And I wanted to. We've got about a few minutes. I wanted to give those to Tatev to talk about anything she would like to talk about as far as promotion, any your Twitch stream, how people can get lessons with you more frequently, anything you want to direct us toward.
Yeah, so this past weekend we hosted a fundraising tournament. So if any of you participated in that, I'm very grateful for any donation you made. It was a great event. So hopefully at least some of you participated and enjoyed it. So if you did, I really want to thank you for it. So I do private lessons, but I also work for a chess academy called American Chess Academy, and we have weekly group lessons via Zoom. We have our beginners group under 1,000, under 1,500, and advanced. So I teach the top 2 groups, under 1,500 and the advanced group. So you guys are welcome to sign up for those. We're going to continue it. So we're going to take breaks for the Christmas break, and we also have a break next week for the New Year's. But then starting January, we'll have them twice a week. So you guys, if you email, you can go to achessacademy.org or americanchessacademy@gmail.com, and you can send us an email of how to sign up. I would love to have you guys in my class. And also, I do stream online. My channel is twitch.tv/tatev_a. So I'm actually going to be doing a stream tonight with Elshan Moradiabadi. He's a grandmaster. He wrote a book today, so we're just going to be going through his book and see. I've used that book to teach a little bit, so I kind of wanted to talk to him about it and hear his thought process and maybe do some of the puzzles together and stuff like that. So you guys are welcome to stop by. And it's pretty interactive. We have to chat and everything, so you guys are welcome to do that as well.
What time is that Twitch event tonight?
6 p.m. Pacific. So in 4 hours.
4 hours, guys. You can, if you want more chess today, go watch Tatev's Twitch. And again, she works at the American Chess Academy. I have had the pleasure of going there a few times, and they are beyond fantastic. I think they're one of the best chess schools in the United States. And especially, if you live in Southern California when this pandemic's finally over.
No, you don't have to be in Southern California. For our online lessons, we have kids from all over the place. But if you live in Southern California, yes, we probably played in our tournaments before if you live in Southern California. But otherwise, our Zoom lessons are open to everyone. They're at reasonable times. Our latest is 4 p.m. Pacific, so it's still okay for the East Coast kids. So if there's anyone from out of state, I think it's still doable.
Super. Thank you very much, Tatev. I'm seeing a lot of students in the chat thanking you as well. This was really. Eleni says this was great. I mean, we had more interaction in the chat than I've ever seen before. And I'll be watching your Twitch stream tonight. Thank you very much, Tatev. This was a pleasure.
Awesome! Thanks for stopping by. All right, thanks for having me. Glad you guys enjoyed it. Bye.